Let's take a look at the cards that are going to no longer be in standard when the new expansion comes out. I've left out the cards that aren't really played, and I've included the ones that are played. So, with Curse of Naxxramas, we're going to lose a lot of powerful cards. Common advice for new players used to be, alright, so you want to get some cards? Just buy the Curse of Naxxramas adventure. For 20 bucks or for the amount of gold, you're going to be guaranteed a lot of very solid cards. And we're going to no longer have these solid cards, which is going to be very interesting moving forward. Losing the defensive power of cards like Zombie Chow, Death Lord, Sludge Belcher, those cards from Curse of Naxxramas were pretty core for some very heavily defensive decks. We're also losing a lot of aggressive, sticky cards such as Haunted Creeper and Nerubian Egg and Mad Scientist and Void Caller and Web Spinner and to some extent Dark Cultist. All of these cards are so strong and they are in a wide array of decks, so almost every single control deck is going to see the need to fill in the 2 Sludge Belchers slot. Several decks are going to find the need to fill in the Loatheb spot. Druids need to replace the Shade, Priest need to replace Death Lord, Patron needs to replace Unstable Goal and Deathbite. How are they going to do that? Zoo needs to replace Haunted Creeper and Nerubian Egg, and sometimes Void Caller. Secret Paladin will no longer have Avenge, that's really important, and the Haunted Creeper sometimes. Goblins vs. Gnomes also had a number of very strong cards, notably here, and I'm not including the full 130 cards, of course, but I'm just including the more powerful ones that were seen. We can see that pretty much mech decks are dead because Goblins vs. Gnomes had the whole mech theme going for it. Hobgoblin decks were quite interesting. Explosive Sheep was an interesting option for mage, control mages, because they could just Fire Blast the sheep to deal 2 damage to all minions. Kazan Mystic can no longer hate on secrets. Big removal is Anti-Killbot for control decks. Anti-Killbot, when Goblins vs. Gnomes came out, was a big game changer, allowing control decks to finally get a little bit of recovery against the very aggressive decks. And of course, everyone's favorite cards of Paladin Shredder and Dr. Boom, which are in a lot of decks, they are no longer going to be in. Paladin Shredder, Dr. Boom, Sludge Belcher, really. And we're going to have a slide later on all of the really big cards that have been removed. But here's certainly just a big list of cards that have been played at some point or another in a relatively large amount. You can see all the cards that will need to be filled again. Some of these cards made decks, such as Mad Scientist. Class-specific cards. There's one deck in particular that really gets punched in the gut. That would be Paladin. Secret Paladin is a very hated deck right now, and with Avenge gone, with Shielded Minibot gone, with Shredder gone, with Dr. Boom gone, with Muster for Battle gone, I think that deck will be gone. Along with that, Control Warrior loses Shield Maiden, aggressive Face Shaman decks lose Crackle and Whirling Zap-O-Matic. Oil Rogues lose Oil. That's going to be pretty tough for them. Warlocks lose quite a few solid cards in Dark Bomb and Implosion. They lost Void Caller already, so losing Mal'Ganis isn't really a big deal, but Demon decks will no longer be the same. Tempo Mage loses Flame Cannon and Unstable Portal, which are really critical cards in order to get the tempo going. Goblin Blast Mage was a card that led all mech mages. Priest loses the big AoE removal of Light Bomb, and Shrinkmeister is really good. Valen's Chosen is missing. So this is going to really require a big look at all the decks and moving forward. See what can be salvaged, see what plans change. It's going to really cause a lot of new decks to come up. Some will look like the old decks, but a lot of them will be fresh. And that's what I'm really looking forward to in the standard rotation. Here's kind of the condensed look at what all of the classes and what neutral cards are most seen in the format, what's going to go away. So just to recap, No more Zombie Chow, no more Healbot, no more Sludge Belcher for the control decks, and most control decks also ran Dr. Boom as a late game finisher. For the decks that ran secrets, which would be Hunter, Mage, Paladin sometimes, you can't cheat the secrets out anymore with Mad Scientist. No more Lotheb, which was a very standard card across all decks. Warrior loses Deathspite, which was a key card, maybe the best card in Control and Patron. Shaman loses Crackle, which was played in both the mid-range and the face Shaman decks. Rogue loses Oil, which was kind of the namesake of their deck. Paladin loses Muster for Battle. They also lose Shield and Minibot, but I thought Muster for Battle was more powerful. That card was insane. Hunter loses Web Spinner, which is a very underrated card when it came out, but really helped with the Beast synergy. You can Houndmaster it, you can kill command off of it. Warlock loses Implosion, which is actually fantastic, because between Implosion and Paladin Shredder and Dr. Boom, Goblins vs. Gnomes, introduced a wild amount of RNG, some of which wasn't very good. I think moving forward, Blizzard has a better idea of what good RNG is in something like the Discover mechanic, where it is random what you get, but there's still also a choice. Mage loses Unstable Portal, which is a very great card in Tempo Mage. Sometimes even saw play in Mech Mage. Priest loses Light Bomb, a very key card in control decks, even Dragon decks ran them. Druid loses Hemet Nessingwary. It's going to be very difficult to deal with those Beast Hunter decks now. But finally, the oppression of the Doctor is gone. Your beasts are safe. They will no longer be killed by Hemet Nessingwary. Now, of course, all of these cards are going to still be playable in Wild, but for those looking for the change, the jarring changes, they're standard. And in Standard, you will no longer have these. Now, based off of these looks, as someone who's played a lot of just vanilla, like even without Nex Rammus, you may look at this and be like, oh, what am I going to do without my Zombie Chow, without my Anti-Killbat, and without my Sludge Belcher against all these aggro decks? And you would be right. You would be pretty much screwed. However, what there is to stop this from happening is, one, you might see lesser seen cards, such as Tuskar Jouster and Refreshment Vendor fill in the void. So that's a cool example of how cards that were kind of passed up can return. But these cards are only getting rotated out when the new expansion comes in, and I sincerely doubt that they would rotate out all of Zombie Chow, Anti-Killbot, and Sludge Belcher without giving you a good anti-aggro tool in the next expansion. So that's Trump's prediction of 2016's spring set, that there will be at least one anti-aggro measure, and it will probably be at least as good, if not about the same as Zombie Chow, Anti-Killbot, or Sludge Belcher. Like, you can certainly see that a few classes lost a lot more than others, but that does not yet include what's getting nerfed in the core set, core basic / classic set. Because when you look at all this stuff, really all that Druid lost was Shade of Nax Rammus. And you may look at that and be like, wow, Druid's going to be OP. But I feel like Druids are going to get a little bit of hate during the readjustment of some basic and classic cards. Ben Brode in an interview said that somewhere between 2 and 20 cards will be changed from the basic / classic cards in the update. So they were planning on, along with this big change, making sure that the cards, notably in Druid, don't get too stagnant, which is a really good idea, because otherwise the entire concept of rotation would kind of be lost.